Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is Yankee and the Brit Sports Talk. And today we're going to give you our top 5 corners prospects for this upcoming NFL draft. And I guess I should have asked you this before we started recording, Maddie, but you want to go 5 to 1 instead of 1 through 5?
Yeah, 5 to 1 sounds good.
We'll lead up to the big surprise.
Yeah.
Well, Maddie, I'll just get into it. For me, I'm going to say I love these top 5 corners, right? And yes, there is some separation, but to me, every one of them is an NFL starter. And I really, really like this class. So I think whoever gets these top 5, they'll be in good shape. And like I told you yesterday, I even had somebody going higher because that's who I think Tampa would take because of theirs. But he's my 6th. That's how deep I think the draft is.
And a lot of that is everybody's talking about all the wide receiver classes getting better. All the wide receiver classes are awesome at the minute. But you've got to remember these cornerbacks are growing up in the same way that these wide receivers are. Who do all of these wide receivers who are getting more and more snaps thrown at them throughout and stuff, who do you think they're running against? Well, it's against these cornerbacks that are also going to these 7-on-7s and all of this kind of stuff. And it just... the strength of the NFL is becoming passing, which also means the strength of your defense has to become passing, pass defense, which means cornerbacks are just naturally getting a lot better. And these guys are no exception to that rule. They're a bit of a different class to last year's class. Like last year's class had all different types of corners going as the top 5 corners, like lots of different. These guys are all very, very much, apart from one guy, they're very much the same mold of corner.
Yeah, and for me, I'm just going to start it with number 5. I got Andrew Booth, Clemson. He's explosive, great hips, very twitchy. He mirrors a receiver very well, and he can play in any scheme. Zoner man right off the bat because he's done it in there. And the only reason he's not like higher is some of these guys above him are just even more athletic freaky, but he is athletically freaky also. And I wouldn't be surprised if on some people's big boards he's 3, you know what I mean, kind of thing. Like it. But I love Andrew Booth. I think he's a great pickup, Clemson.
Yeah, I think that the thing that you get with Andrew Booth is great hands, like like that. Trayvon Diggs, he totally switches the field for you. Like he can win you a game from corner, like that kind of guy. But at the same time, when you look at his production, there are gaps there where he gets burnt. Like he has been burnt. He is Trayvon Diggs. If you like Trayvon Diggs and you like what he brings to the table, get Andrew Booth Jr. And Trayvon Diggs is just going to get better and better and better. And it's the same with Andrew Booth Jr. as they learn how to kind of, because those hands, you can't teach that a lot of the time. He has that Odell Beckham style catch that, I can't remember who it was against. But when I was watching his tape, this Odell Beckham style catch grabs it one hand behind his back. You can't teach that shit. A lot of that is just kind of, just comes with instinct. And he's got that instinct. What you can teach is how to not get burnt every single play. And a lot of it is the reason that Trayvon Diggs gets burnt. It's your hands are so good, you believe you can make every play an interception. So then all you're looking for is interceptions rather than defending your own end zone.
And technique. And you can teach more better technique because it changes from scheme to scheme. Sometimes you get burnt just because you had bad technique, even though you're right in the right position. You know what I mean? And that was Trayvon Diggs a lot of times. He'd be in the right position, but his hips would be in the wrong place. You can teach that.
Yeah, but his Booth has that quick feet as well. Like Trayvon Diggs' hips can sometimes be a bit slow to turn. Like that, I think that's personally because he's so focused on the ball and ready to just pick that shit out of the air a lot of the time. But Booth's, he's got some of the best feet in this class, and he's, from what I've seen, he's got these ridiculously quick feet, but his hips don't turn. Like, which is weird. So like that kind of technique thing where, so his feet are so quick, he just turns his whole body instead of like that shuffling, like as you go back, his hips don't turn, his whole body has to turn with his feet. So I guess that's a bit of a technique thing that that can be improved on. I've got him going at 4. So at 5, I have Kia Allen. And the reason that I've got Kia Allen is I believe he's got similar weaknesses. He's also got similar strengths, but instead of coming down with the ball in an interception, he's knocking it down and puts his hands in difficult places for wide receivers to catch the ball. He's got that quick acceleration to the ball, knocks it down, whereas Booth comes up with an interception from there. Allen bats it down, but Allen gets burnt less, and it's a lot safer. Long, rangy, quick closing when the balls get into them, and just jams his hands in difficult places for wide receivers to catch balls.
Yeah, well, I got him at 4, so we just flip-flopped. So
Yeah.
we're taking care of 4 and 5 right here together.
Yeah.
I think he's the most physical corner in the draft, which I love. He's a disruptor at the point of the catch. That is what I like.
Yeah.
He gets up there, he gets his hands in. He might not get as many picks as some guys, but he's going to have more passes defended by the end of the year than some guys. And press coverage is where he excels. If you play man-to-man or even a zone, he can get up, press the receiver, and not get beat because he is so physical at the line of scrimmage. And if you jam a guy like Devontae Adams, Odell Beckham, real good at the line, it screws up the whole rhythm of that play. And now that play is off rhythm and out of sync. And let's go to the Packers, where Devontae and the Packers were so deadly is Rodgers drops 3 steps, foot plant, foot, throws ball, Devontae Adams in the right spot, gone. And if you can jam and disrupt that, I love this kid though at number 4, and that's crazy because I think in other drafts these two are 1 and 2.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure. I'm not totally sure about the 1 and 2. I think Booth gets burnt too many times, and I don't know what it is about Allen. He just doesn't look as sound in some situations. Like he looks like he needs his physicality more than the others do.
That's all coaching, though. You know what I mean? Coaches are going to teach him how to do those other things.
And you do think that Allen, wide receivers aren't getting a lot of clean balls to catch with Allen there. Like, that's what I think. You're not getting a lot of clean ball. Like, you have the opportunity. Allen leaves opportunities to catch the ball for the wide receiver, but they're never clean. You've got to have really sticky hands as a wide receiver to hold on to it when Allen's coming in there. Also, a big positive you have from Allen as well is coming downhill and smashing a running back as soon as he breaks the... If a running back breaks contain, then Allen's just going to come and nail him as well. Booth has that ability as well, but I saw a couple of plays where Booth took a few wrong angles, but the dude just comes downhill and they both just hit really hard and seem to love tackling low. And that's a big... You know me, rugby player, tackling low is a big thing for me when in the NFL I see a lot of guys just trying to tackle high and knock the ball out. When you're a CB, just take the fucker down. Like when you're tackling a guy like Derrick Henry, just wrap around his ankles. Don't worry about turnovers there. And these guys both like to do that from what I've seen.
So at number 3, who do you got, Maddie?
I think I've got the most number 3 cornerback that I've ever seen in my entire life, and it's Trent McDuffie. And
that's who I have.
Yeah, the only reason that Trent McDuffie, I think if you switched this 5 around, which some draft boards have, and you take the 4 and 5 and switch them with the 2 and 1, Trent McDuffie would still be number 3 on those guys' drafts. I think he's kind of just like the thing that's keeping him from being 1 or 2 is size, which means you keep him at number 3 no matter what. Now, Trent McDuffie, sound technique, sound tackling, scrappy in the trenches kind of guy, and in zone, he's going to dominate.
Peter Schrager said that he has talked to teams who have him as the number 1 corner on their board.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how this, like, we might not agree because I don't think he's the number 1 corner, but like that just shows how good these top guys are.
Yeah.
I think he's a great athlete. His acceleration and agility are the best in the draft. His body control is crazy. He is a good tackler, not great, but he is a good tackler who will get in there and put in the effort. He's got really good instincts. And in a zone scheme, he's a day 1 starter. He needs some work on his man-to-man, but that'll come just because he didn't play it in college. You got to get out there and do it. Love this kid too, though.
I think the reason that I wouldn't have him number 1 is just size. And I hate that. Like, I hate that. I'm a guy where I believe it doesn't matter what size you are in the NFL, as long as you know how to play with that size. And I think Trent McDuffie does know how to play with that size. And he is possibly the best at the role that he's going to fill in this draft. But that role is not an on a line, an on island by yourself cornerback right now. Like, you're not going to put Trent McDuffie on an island by himself against Mike Evans. Like, you just won't. That won't happen. And when you're drafting, if you're taking, you want your top one or two guys on your board to be those guys who you can just say, right, that half of that guy or that part of this offense, he's yours. And then you don't have to worry about that guy for the rest of the time. I don't think McDuffie can do that. But I think almost like an Asante Samuel, and you know how high I was on him last year, he's the best at the role that he's going to fill. And that role is looking after your slot or looking after a certain zone, and he'll take care of that. And that's why if you're looking for a slot corner or if you're looking for a zone corner, you might want to take Trent McDuffie over all others in that kind of way.
That's what I was just going to say. So Ed Donatel coming from Denver to Minnesota, starting the 3-4 defense, they play mostly zone, get to the quarterback, halves, quarters type coverage. He's perfect for that type of scheme. Mm-hmm. So I would not cry if Minnesota ended up, like, say somebody wanted a quarterback and we traded back 5-6 spots and still got him, as long as Stingley's not on the board. You know what I mean? Like, trade back, get him still. I'm good with that. I really like him. And like you said, scheme fit is a lot with him, but I think he'll be able to play any scheme after a year or two in the league.
Yeah, but he's the best. If he could be the best corner in this draft if he goes to a place that plays zone, like New England. Like, if he ends up in New England, then they're just going to go absolutely mental for that. That's a great pick for them. Or he's not a Dallas Cowboys cornerback, is what I guess I'm getting at. Like, if you're the Dallas Cowboys, I'd take the two below because we play a lot of man. Whereas if it's Minnesota, you take Trent McDuffie because you guys.
Yeah, I'm assuming because of Ed Donatel, it's going to be more zone than it was with Mike Zimmer. But I guess with a new coaching regime, it's always just guessing, right?
Yeah.
So at number 2, I think without injury, he is the number 1 corner in the draft. He slid to 2 because of the injury. I think pure corner, like pure talent, he is the best corner in the draft. His size, speed, skill. He's got the highest upside. He's a shutdown corner, but injuries. It's Derek Stingley Jr., LSU out of, DBU.
Yeah, I've took Derek Stingley Jr. as well at number 2. And I was obviously toying with putting him at number 1 because I didn't want injuries to really factor into this, because this isn't what order people are going to draft them in. This is our actual who's going to be the best at the end of this. And a lot of people are saying Derek Stingley, but I actually think my number 1 guy might just be outright better than Derek Stingley. And Derek Stingley is just physical. He just does everything that you want a corner to do. He's the Patrick Surtain of this draft. He's the Patrick.
Well, I was going to say he's Patrick Peterson Jr. coming out.
Yeah, he's perfect. He's the guy that you want. And
I mean, as a freshman, these top 2 guys were locking dudes down on a college level. And think about that. You're playing 22-year-olds and you're 18.
Yeah, he was playing Jamar Chase when he was 18 years old.
Locking people down, him and these top 2 guys, him and Sauce.
Exactly. Yeah, he was training up against Jamar Chase and locking him down when he was a true freshman.
JJ. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, Justin Jefferson. Like, that's what we mean when we say, oh, these wide receiver class is amazing. This wide receiver class is amazing. This corner class is possibly even better, because corner is possibly the hardest position to play in the NFL at the minute, because you can't. Oh, this is a point that I wanted to make about Alam. Alam gave away 7 penalties last year. Yeah. Now, that's going to really struggle. That's going to make him really struggle when he gets to the NFL, really, because penalties just seem to be hopefully they're going to fix that, because I want physical play from corners. I'd give up a touchdown or 2 touchdowns a game to allow physical play from corners. But Derek Stingley, if he's anything like he was in his true freshman year or 2 years ago without the injuries and stuff, then he's a
he was looking amazing this last year before the injury. I mean, he was getting better and better. So, yeah. And like we've talked about, these I hate to sound like because it's not my knee, but ACLs, MCLs, PCLs, not as career ending, not as long to recover as used to be. The surgeries are, I hate to say minor surgery now, because it's only minor if it's on somebody else, right? But yeah.
Yeah. Again, it's a lot of rehab that you have to go through, and it's a difficult mental injury, but it's a not difficult medical injury, if you know
Yeah,
what
it's
I mean.
not career ending anymore. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas you get some injuries where they don't affect your day-to-day life, the rehab that you have to do, but they affect the way that you're able to play football. Whereas an ACL, one of the reasons that can get better so much quicker is because we've realized you don't mess with it if you're getting paid more, then you're more willing to let it affect your personal life and not do anything at all on your ACL so you can get back to earning millions in the NFL. And he'll be back. He'll miss the first 2-3 games of the season, but
They're saying, and I know it's this time of year, but they're saying he's going to be ready for training camp.
yeah, I'm not sure that I see. Like maybe he'll be
Guys are
able to
coming
go to
back in
training
8
camp.
months now, though. It's amazing. It started with
Yeah,
Adrian Peterson. It got weird. Like,
yeah, it's like he'll be able to go to training camp, but not actually do anything. Like his ACL will be good enough for him to go to training camp and walk and not be on crutches. Is how, because it's that time of year, they want to get out that he'll be ready for training camp. And I think being ready for training camp is one of those things that you need a cornerback to be. But let's remember, you're not drafting these guys for next year, even though these guys can lock you down for next year by the look of it. You're drafting them for 10, 15 years. And Derek Stingley he's the Patrick Surtain of this draft. He just is. But number one, and I'm going to have him number one in terms of actual projections and talent alone, rather than just citing Stingley's injury for him not being number one. I'll be
my
shocked
bad.
if
It was
this
a Liz Frank injury.
is that his injury, not an ACL. Yeah, there's somebody else. It's
I
Jameis
screwed somebody
Williams.
up.
It's Jameis Williams as the wide receiver who's the
Yeah.
ACL, and then he's Lynn Frank, which is still a very curable injury. He'll miss the first 3 games of the season. I'll be shocked if you don't have this guy at number one with the way that the rest of our lists have shaped up, but it's Ahmed Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, I got Sauce. 6'3", runs a 4.40, a 4.440, allowed 0 touchdowns in 3 seasons, and had no season with over 50% completion rate on him. Yeah, I got Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? It's that thing where you say no touchdowns in 3 years. Like that, like you just see that and you go, right, okay. Like you can't replace that. You can't. Like Derek Stingley has all of this talent, but he's had touchdowns scored on him, like in those 3 years, whereas Sauce Gardner hasn't. And I don't like to look at projection too much in college. Like wide receiver, we're going to talk about wide receivers in the next video, and you don't really want to look at their production too much because a lot of that falls down to quarterbacks and things like that. But cornerback going against NFL level wide receivers week in, week out, if he's not giving touchdowns away, that translates to the NFL. And you walk into the NFL dressing room being like, I haven't given a touchdown away in 3 years. Like, what you got?
Yeah. There's going to be some quarterbacks who probably go after him in the NFL just because of that. But that's, it's going to happen anyway. I could see a dude like if Peyton Manning was still playing, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, go, okay, rookie, welcome to the NFL. Watch this, that kind of thing. But he's going to be a good corner. And whoever takes any of these 5 guys, though, I think they just upgraded their secondary.
Yeah, 100%. I would love to get any of these top 5 guys. If they came to Dallas, I'd be very, very happy.
Look, I hated the Vikings cornerback room going into the offseason. Now with P2 back, with Chandler signing in the slot, Dantzler, if you look, it shocked me, but at PFF, he's like an 80-something rated corner. I didn't realize it because he pissed me off so much. They got a good little 3, but, and then we have some good young guys. But you get one of these guys, I'm feeling a whole lot better about Minnesota's secondary.
And you'll get a Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley, or a Trent McDuffie with where you guys are picking and the needs of everybody else around. Like you might, as you say, you might need to trade back for Trent McDuffie, but why risk it? I would just take him because he fits
it depends who's in there, right? But if you go back, I would keep hearing that going back to the Saints number 16 is a real possibility. if the quarterback they want is there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going back 4 spots. And I don't remember who was in between, but there was nobody who was going to grab a corner. But that's if they're willing to trade up. I'm not sure with the depth that people are willing to trade up in this draft to grab a receiver, a corner, or even, I don't think a lot are going to go in the first round, but like we talked in the mock, there's a ton of linebackers too.
But yeah, ton of linebackers. There's a decent amount of offensive linemen, really. Like, I think the offensive lineman is, if you can't draft up into the top 10 to get a Neil,
the top 3 guys.
and then a Charles Cross, then you may as well just wait and just see what happens.
Right.
But yeah, you guys are in a perfect spot to get the cornerback that you need. I'd be shocked if Seattle didn't take a Stingley. I'd be
I'm hoping that people blow us away and 3 quarterbacks go in the top 10 because that just helped Minnesota.
Idiotic.
It would be, but I'm praying because it would help Minnesota. That's 3 picks that they push back to us that didn't affect the draft to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then you might be able to draft back and get a Stingley or a Sauce Gardner.
Right.
Sauce Gardner is going right in the.
Yeah, he's going top 5.
Top 5 straight away. Let's give a quick mention to Kyle Hamilton. If Kyle Hamilton's probably the second or third, depending on how you rate Stingley's injury problems. He's the second or third DB in this, like safety and cornerback.
Yeah, I told you I wouldn't be shocked if Minnesota took him at 12 either.
Yeah, he plays cornerback as well.
You put him right next to Harrison Smith, that's a hell of a safety tandem.
Yeah, just make him play corner.
Right.
If you can play safety, you can play corner.
They got Bynum who can play both too, which he's young and they like. So I think flexibility is always good too, but we'll see what they want. If Stingley's there, they're running that card up though.
Yeah, 100%. Before anybody realizes the fuck up that they've done.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We're going to drop top 5 wide receiver prospects, and check out on YouTube. We dropped out our round 1 mock draft. Thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.